upper level of Herod's private palace, which was built actually in 3 steps. This is the upper level, was like a balcony. Below is a small area which has a small private bathhouse and swimming pool, and below that the residential area. And even that was very unique because Herod's engineers actually dug this palace into the mountain. It was a 90 degrees curve mountain. They dug it in 3 steps. And so we are here in this northern palace looking west, towards the western side. We see, if we look that way, we see another military Roman camp. You see that? That's way over there. We see the wall, the siege wall that the Romans put around Masada, and then we see this big Roman military camp over here in the west. Now when the Romans arrived here, you have to understand that the Roman army arrived here, the 10th Legion, which is the elite forces of the Roman army, arrived here after they're already fighting for 7 years. And during those 7 years, they managed to destroy the entire northern part of Israel, Jerusalem, the temple. Everybody was slaves. Everything was destroyed. There was nobody left except of this place that was fighting. And 967 people, men, women, and children, refugees from all over. That shouldn't be anything for the Roman army. So the Roman army arrives here. They look at this place. They go, yeah, it's easy. Build a siege wall around the whole place so they'll know that they cannot escape. Have 8 military camps around Masada, enough to stand and hold hands around the place, and that's it. Nobody can come in, nobody can come out. A week, 2, 3, they won't have enough food, enough water. That will be the end of Masada. They waited here all through winter, and they realized that not only the people here are giving up, they show no signs of giving up. They have food, they have water. Romans are trying to climb from the snake path. You roll stones and it's protected. There's no way to climb from any other place because it's cliffs all over. And then the Romans ask themselves, what are we going to do? We can go back to Rome and say we finished the whole revolt. Who cares about 1,000 people on the mountain? They can stay there. But if you do that, then everybody in the Roman Empire will rebel against you, because that will say, you know what, the Roman army that we're all afraid of, they failed. They couldn't take this mountain with 1,000 people. So the Romans were determined to take and crush this revolt to the ground to show that nobody can rebel against Rome and get away with that. And since there's no way you climb from the east, they decided, let's move the entire army to the west. By coming here, you save yourself this whole distance, which means this is sea level. From here to the top, only 450 feet. Versus 650 feet over there, 1650 feet over there. So from here, it makes sense you can build a Roman ramp. All you have to do is bring the Roman army 450 feet higher, even with the walls. When they're even with the walls, they can break through the walls, enough to break through the walls in one place where the Roman army can enter, open the gates, and that's the end of Masada. Now you don't even have to bring the entire Roman army 450 feet up, enough to bring the war machine that the Romans had. The Romans had a big tower made of wood with like 3 stores, and one had a bridge to put on the wall, one had a metal ram to knock down your walls, one had people who would shoot arrows of fire. Enough to bring this even with the walls, put bridges on the wall, break through the wall, everybody can go in, and that's it. They took Jewish slaves, they used Jewish slaves to push, to build the Roman ramp, and slowly they pushed that war machine. And the defenders who were here, watching this Roman war machine getting higher and higher, realized that they have to decide what they're going to do. Because the minute this will get even with the wall, that's it, there's no way. What can you do? What did they decide? What were their understandings? We'll continue in a different place. To the height of the wall of the city, nothing they can do. If they're lucky, they will die in battle, which they didn't mind because they started the whole fight against the Romans. They didn't care of dying in battle, but probably what will happen is 15,000 Roman soldiers against 967 people, they will be captured, they become slaves, and then they know they become gladiators, their wives will be abused, their children will become slaves, and that was exactly what they didn't want because they were fighting against slavery. And so the leader, Elazar ben Yair, gives them a speech. We know about this speech because Flavius claims that he recorded this speech and he wrote it in his book. This is the speech that Elazar ben Yair gave to the defenders the last night before Masada fell. He says he got it from hearsay. I'll explain to you how in a second. Scholars tend to debate whether those are the exact words of Elazar ben Yair because they sound a little bit too Roman, too organized, but the spirit of the thing is probably correct. And Elazar ben Yair says, in short, he says to the people, we were the first to start this struggle, we'll be the last to break this revolt. We never submitted to slavery. We started this fight against slavery, and therefore we don't want to become slaves now. So while we're still strong, while we can still fight and hold the sword, let us do each other a favor and let us kill each other. Let us spare our wives from being abused and our children from becoming slaves and us becoming slaves. we will kill each other while we still have strength to do that. But before we kill each other, he says, let us burn the whole fortress and destroy everything we can, so the Romans won't have anything to loot. This will be our last bitter blow to the Romans, and we will spare our provisions, our water, and our food to show the Romans that we didn't give up because we didn't have enough food and water. And because they were religious people and they couldn't commit suicide because suicide is illegal, not permitted by religion, they drew lots. They chose 10 people. Those 10 had to kill the others, and one of the 10 had to kill the other 9 and then commit suicide. And Flavius says that when the day after, Roman army finally broke through the walls of Masada and the Roman soldiers entered Masada, instead of wars and voices of war, there was deadly silence. There were flames everywhere. The water cisterns were full of water. The storage places were full of food. And 962 people were dead. 2 women and 3 children were left in a cave, as Flavius says, to tell Flavius the story of Masada. And he claims that he got this whole hearsaying in about the last hours of Masada from those 2 women and 3 children, which we have no idea what happened to them at the end, fought by the Romans. And Flavius finishes this whole chapter about Masada by saying that even the Roman general, Flavius, who conquered Masada, was astonished by the bravery of those people who chose, when at the last moment, when they came to trial, they chose to die free. And that freedom at that point was more important to them than life, than the religion. And so Masada became, and this is why it was recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site, because of the international idea of freedom that it represents. Nobody came on Masada wanting to kill himself and thinking, let's go on the mountain and kill ourselves. They had full intentions of going back and starting all over again. They found here keys to people's homes in Jerusalem that they brought with them, thinking they're going to go back. But when they realized that it's not going to happen and they are the last people who are still fighting, that's when they decided that they want to die free. And so that's the story of Masada. When they excavated here, they found 22 bodies of the defenders of Masada, which were buried by Israelis, military burial as Israeli soldiers and so on. And this legend or story of Masada basically keeps going all the years and representing the bravery of people. Now it creates lots of theological questions, because you can ask, if you were such a religious person, why did you have to kill yourself? Why didn't you have to just stay alive and count on God to save you or protect you? There's lots of theological questions that could be raised here. We're not going to answer them, just to make you think. But again, try to put yourself in the place of the defenders of Masada on that last. They know that 7 years, this whole battle comes to an end now. Everything else is destroyed. There's no temple, there's no Jerusalem, everybody are slaves or dead. There's no one except them fighting against the Romans, and even they are going to lose. That's the state of mind where they were when they took the decision to kill themselves here on Masada.
And the year is?
The year is 73 AD. Yeah. What was the water situation? How did they take care of the water situation? Flavius tells us that Herod's engineers dug 10 water cisterns, such as this one. This one, of course, is a half water cistern because it needs the roof, but water cisterns are very easy to dig into limestone. You dig a small entrance through the hard rock of limestone. You get to the fragile rock, you dig a big water cistern. You white plaster the whole thing every year, so it becomes waterproof, and then you catch the rain and the flash floods from high places to low places on stone canals and fill the water cisterns. Flavius says that one good night of rain would fill all those 10 water cisterns immediately. That there was no problem of water. They would keep 30 to 40,000 cubic meters of water on Masada, which was more than enough for what they needed for drinking, for swimming pools, for bath houses, and for irrigation even, because Flavius says they used to have irrigation, they used to have agriculture between the buildings on Masada. Of course, it's lots of work. Every year you have to renew the water cistern, you have to renew the white plaster around the water cistern, but it was so sophisticated, and there were 6 water cisterns at the lower part of the mountain, 4 on the upper part of the mountain. In times of need, they would bring water from the lower part into the upper part with donkeys through a little trail that was found here. It's called the water gate. There's a gate over here, so you could go down from the water gate halfway down the mountain into the big water cisterns, bring water and fill the upper water cisterns, and basically there was no problem of water in Masada.